It is Blue Monday here on the Blue Room. Early start for me and Dave Downey today. So if you're watching this on YouTube, might see us sipping coffee with bleary eyes because it is 8 in the morning. But Dave, we just couldn't wait to get together and have a chat about yesterday and the Toffees. How are you doing today?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, you say it's hard enough being this time of day on a Monday morning, but I think it's well allowed if anybody had a drink or two last night after that game with Chelsea.
Yeah, I took it easy yesterday. Not been very well in the week. Very sensible.
You
Got
know,
home in good time.
well, do you know what, mate? It was like obviously we met up in the Denby as we always do for post match, and I saw you and you came back in because the trains were off. So how did
Oh,
you get home in the end?
well, thankfully, my wife, who doesn't listen to this, so I'm not going to talk her up too much. She drove all the way into town from Formby and got me. Bless her.
Wow, mate, it shows you real love when that
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, she really must do. Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, it was great. It was great in the Denby yesterday. If you do want to watch us on YouTube, you want to see me and Dave looking bleary eyed, and you usually listen to the podcast, do come over and give it a go. Leave a comment, leave a rating, all those sorts of things. It all helps with the algorithm. And yeah, we want as many people to listen to us as possible at the moment because there's loads of games and Everton are absolutely boss. They are flying. 3 wins in a week, no goals conceded, 6 scores, 6 scored even, flying up towards those European places. Just amazing yesterday, wasn't it? I'm so happy this morning. Like, didn't sleep great. Just been out in the rain with the dog and the wind. Got absolutely battered by the elements, but still got just a huge smile on my face. I just loved yesterday's game so much.
That's it, mate. That's exactly why I think we do the Monday show, isn't it? Really, especially after we've won a game, you go and do what we've done with that. It makes you skip around the week, doesn't it, until the next one? But yeah, it's been a fantastic week, hasn't it? To take, I mean, I'd love somebody to do some statistics on this if they want to, if they've got the time to. But when's the last time we won three in a row? I mean, I
I
think
think
that'd be
Gav Buckland said yesterday it was 2018 when fans were allowed in the stadium. This was.
five years ago. Then
Yeah,
basically.
I'll double check that now, but it's definitely around about that. Yeah.
It's incredible, really, and I look on that website Soccer Base all the time, which gives you the list of results, it gives you all the details from any games that has gone. And when you click on it, like obviously after what stage we at now, 16 games played. There's obviously a list, and you see it immediately because all the wins are in green. And when you look at Everton's, it's actually really proud that you can see the way it looks on it. And then I'm looking at the league table, I'm thinking, the issue with the 10 points and stuff like that. I'm sick of mentioning it, but I still think it's worth talking about because if we were not given that 10 points, if some magical way we get it back from the appeal or whatever, we'd be 3 points behind Newcastle. If that was the case, if we still had the
We'd be
ten
planning like
points on.
Blue Room European tours and getting
Yeah,
flags
mate,
made and everything, wouldn't we?
it's a long time since we spoke about that sort of thing, wasn't it? When was it? Koeman? I think the
Yeah,
last time we were there.
yeah.
So
Just
yeah,
very quickly, Dave, it was
yeah.
2019, the last time we were 3 in a row without conceding. Chelsea 1-0 at home, West Ham 2-0 away, Arsenal 1-0 at home. It was that spell of games under Silver where we were playing really well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I want to mention him later, but yeah, go on.
Oh, well, I
I
mean,
think, I think. Go on,
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
No, I was just going to say, the fact that we haven't conceded either. It's I know we say it's almost it's we're saying it every single week about Branthwaite. I think I started crying last night because he's going to miss he's going to miss the game away at Burnley because he basically had one leg left in that game against Chelsea and just carried on anyway. I was really surprised when we made the substitution, but it was actually Young that went off slightly injured, looked like a hamstring injury, something like that. When Branthwaite went down, I was really worried the angle at which his knee. I was thinking, please don't buckle. And he was down for about 5 or 6 minutes whilst the physios come on, and then it was remarkable how he just got up, looked like he just nodded at the bench, and he still didn't look fit for the rest of the half. And I was thinking that he's not going to be able to carry on. Even when he was getting played the ball from Pickford, when when he likes to just roll it out to any of the defenders there, when he's rolling it out to him, I'm thinking he looks like he's about to just say to Pickford, "Stop giving it to me. I need to stop kicking the ball. I can't really run." And then I wouldn't go as far as saying he shook it off, but he was absolutely fine. And it's another tick in well, there's nothing left to tick with him really, is there? Because he's absolutely everything. The other thing that was really good as well, I don't know if anybody watched Match of the Day last night. He came on, first time I've heard him talk myself, and I was like, just that sort of vague Geordie accent, but obviously he's from Carlisle, so it's not quite at that level. It's quite a bizarre accent that he's got. But to hear him talk again, it's the maturity. And once again, that I can't stand is that when he showed up on Match of the Day, this is the second time this season they've analysed him. I don't think too much of Micah Richards' analysis, but he was on it talking about him, and the highlights on it to get in particular parts of the game, which show what he's done, what he's been better at, and things. It was actually a really good piece that he put together, to be fair to him. But when that happens, and chappers are saying stuff about him, and or whoever pundits are on are saying stuff about him, I start getting really, really worried about
Play
that.
for England bandwagon starting to.
Oh, absolutely.
Is he your player? Is he your player of the weekend? By the way, Dave.
No, I'm
Okay.
sticking with mine. I'm sticking with mine. You'll know what I'm going to say because I think I've had the same one.
I was going to say he's going Mykolenko again.
Mykolenko again, mate. Yeah, I just it's hard. It's becoming more difficult to praise him. I don't think there's enough words left to say what you think of how good he's been for us. And it just seems to go in his stride. Excuse me. He looks like it just doesn't bother him. When you see some players, when your team's in as a form of confidence, like ours does right now, playing at home, Goodison's roaring about, all the things that we essentially needed for quite some time, certainly under Dyson for a couple of years before that, certainly under Lampard, aside from the big games where we needed to win to stay in the Premier League. He looked when he had to come on. I mean, let's not forget, it was Benitez that signed him. And the less the better, saying that he was the man that brought him in. But it's taken a long time for him to get to the situation where he is. I'm not too sure if it has been quite lucky that he's been maintained as a left back there to actually get games at the time. I think a lot of people, including myself, you go back, I don't know, a year, 18 months, not expecting much from a left back. Bog standard left back, probably even less so. Many people would, if they're not even Everton fans, watched him. And I think there's an irony to it because we probably didn't sign an additional left back because of the financial situation. I think definitely that he's one we would have changed had we had a chance. But since then, by hook or by crook, the lad is playing at left back, and it just looks like everything's come so easy to him at the moment. You look at him against Chelsea, and I would have been really interested had. And people have slighted me for this, but Mudryk is one of my favourite players aside from Everton because I think he's top class. It just hasn't cut foot in. It just doesn't work for him at Chelsea for one reason or another. I would have loved to have seen him over that side against Mykolenko because aside of how well he's playing, he is lightning quick. He's probably the quickest player in the Premier League, is Mudryk.
I bet you Mykolenko has him off in Ukraine training all the time, Dave.
That's it. He's I'd love to chat. Obviously, we can't these days, but I'd love to know how his Everton career has developed. Obviously, it's not as simple as just going from, oh, well, I'm playing better because we've got a manager that suits me better. I'd just love to hear the progress that he's made on that side of the pitch, on what he actually does, and how confident I feel every time he's got it. And that's more due to every single winger I've seen go up against him, and I thought this when Raheem Sterling came on. I thought this is another big test. This is another step up that he needs to be able to do for them to not have any chances on scoring a goal. And again, he's done it with all of the top players we've been against. And I'll say quite a lot about Salah because it's hard for people to say, "Oh, he can't have done too good because Salah's gone and scored 2 goals in the derby." I had nothing to do with him. There was no fault by him, but he had him in his ass pocket for the rest of the game. Thought the same about anybody they throw at him at right back. I think as well there's a real understanding, regardless of who's in front of him. Now we've spoken about Harrison being up there with him, and we've criticised players like McNeil earlier this season who don't help him, who don't get back. But even with that, it's like there's 2 of him there because if he's got no one tracking back with him, he's on his own. He's got 2 or 3 players in and around him. He's really, really quick as well, which not many people speak about. And also feel that when he goes forward, it's at the right time. I think that there's the way he reads the game as well is something that not many people have specified when you look at him. But yeah, he's comfortably my player of the week once again. Sorry to be bored on everyone.
No, I think can't argue with it really. He's playing so well. But like there are a few moments, like anyone who wasn't there yesterday or like has only seen the highlights, like there were moments in the game yesterday where they were like Chelsea like had opportunities to create big chances, and he was like there to shut them down and like stop the pass before the pass that became a chance, and like maybe a little bit stretched. And there were like 2 or 3 times in the second half in particular, like at our end, where like he made the tackle, like, and then the play broke down, and like people were out to him, like, made a massive point to go over to him, like say that was class. So I think the players really appreciate him as well. And there's loads of that yesterday. There's one where Decore, I think, shepherded Mudryk out right at the end. And like just for a goal kick, and like he just turned to the Goddard Street and just roared, like this visceral roar, and it was great. But my player of the weekend, and maybe this is a bit to do with last week as well, just in general, is McNeil. And I think I can make this case for the Forest game, obviously, and for Newcastle, he was great as well. But I was watching the highlights back and just thinking about the game as well, and it sort of felt like neither team were creating anything. There's no real cutting edge from either side in the game, and I think the way he skins Gallagher, drives forward and plays that pass to Calvert-Lewin is like the clear moment of class in the game that opens up the chance for us to score. Like I know he doesn't end up getting a goal or an assist for it, but I think that moment, and I think the pass to Calvert-Lewin, I didn't realise how good it was until I watched it back. Like it's absolutely pinpoint perfect, and like it's one of them where, like, I'm sure if Decore had missed that chance, people would have been going, "Oh, Calvert-Lewin should have scored initially." But it's such a tight window for McNeil to play the pass to him. It's almost like it's always going to be a hard chance where the keeper's right on top of Calvert-Lewin. But I think McNeil's been such a difference maker this week. You look at the big moments in every game we've had. At Forest, opening goal, Newcastle, opening goal, moments of brilliance and a pass to open the game up yesterday. And I think you're right. There's probably times earlier in the season. I think, we were speaking to Pete about this the other day, weren't we? Sort of saying we were probably in the camp of people saying, well, maybe it's time to look at somebody else on the wing, or
the worst person to be talking about, by the way.
Oh, Pete absolutely loves him, doesn't he? I mean, people want to see the Blue Room WhatsApp group at the moment. It's just constant voice notes from Pete
and music,
and Dwight McNeil to a variety of Christmas songs. We'll have to ask him, can we put them on the end of the podcast as we get closer and closer to
get an album going?
Yeah, but like, I think he didn't look anywhere near fit, did he, at the start of the season, which maybe we kind of underestimated. I think he's probably the one player I'd say, actually, when you think about Dyche and the way he is with looking after players and injuries and stuff like that, he feels like the one player that maybe was rushed back into the team a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Matt.
I feel like he keeps other players back, doesn't he, and like lets them get to like fully up to match fit. I think he saw that with Anani yesterday. Like he came on, like he didn't really look rusty at all, did he? He looked like he was fit and ready to go straight away.
Yeah.
Whereas I think McNeil, maybe because we are so short of wingers, maybe because he doesn't fully trust Danjuma, he came back on a Sheffield United, didn't he, in that 2-2 draw, and he looked absolutely miles off it. And it's just taken him a bit of time to get up to full fitness again. But now he's playing really well again.
Yeah, there's a rhythm to how he plays as well. I mean, I know I mentioned Mikalenko not necessarily having someone up who goes up and down, and I think when I watch McNeil, I think he's just sort of being left freely to play how he likes. He does like to go across field. There's a couple of times when he picks up the ball on the left hand side, and he's happy to go right across the midfield and end up teaming up with whoever's on the right hand side. Like Ashley Young against Forest last week, he was doing stuff like that. And I think it's unpredictable as well. I think that's why other players won't like playing up against him. I think the fitness point you made, I think that's one that critics of him, i.e. me, for quite some time, was thinking that, well, what's the point in him being on getting a game first of all? Well, that's because we haven't got a big squad at the time. A left-footed winger as well. That's something that we don't have a lot of. And yeah, I think you're right. I think Dyche had some I mean, I've been praising him a lot now, obviously, because we've just gone 1-3 on the spin, and everything he's done sub-wise and things like that has really mattered. It's certainly put him up in my expectations every single week since we've started this ridiculous run after the deductions. But with him as well, there's a consistency from what he actually does. I think that there's an end product from what he does, Matt. Whether it's an assist, whether it's a shot on goal, and like going back to what you said there about him with Calvert-Lewin, that pass has to be, you said, pinpoint there, the weight of the ball through as well. It can't be even slightly faster or slightly slower towards.
It's like a James Rodriguez pass, isn't it?
Comes out and absolutely destroys his legs. Because if you see him when we actually scored, he's on the floor in agony when we scored the goal. And then when it comes out to the Corey, that's began from McNeil. And Peter McFarlane, again, who we mentioned, who's just absolutely adores the lad. He's saying, "Oh, he's got another assist there," and we're laughing and joking about it, saying it wasn't an assist because he put it through, and then there was another shot for Corey to score the goal. But there's a real consistency from him there, Matt. And if you're looking at somebody who's going to apply an assist, a cross, every single part, every facet of the way he plays now, there's a real consistency and confidence about him. And I remember when we initially signed him, was like, we paid 20 million for a fella who at Burnley wouldn't even class as the best player at Burnley, and then you start thinking about Sean Dyche. You think he's got him, Tarkovsky, Keane. You're thinking, what are we doing going like Burnley again? Because obviously they went down when he was there last, when he got sacked. It takes some bottle to do that, I think, Matt, as well, to just keep playing somebody who was criticised quite a lot by us, which it was, and it's starting to pay dividends now.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught me saying it. Thanks, connection went a bit funny, but I said the pass was like a Rodriguez pass, wasn't it? Like weighted perfectly, like in the little space. It reminded me a little bit of the ones he used to play. But no,
Rodriguez in the derby when it was COVID.
Yeah, very. It was quite similar to that, wasn't it? Actually, yeah, just
yeah.
little one in behind, but no. And none of us have mentioned Lewis Dobbin either, really, which is which is mad.
Yeah,
what a moment for him. Listen, I don't know what he's going to go on to do at Everton, or whether he's going to have a long-term career here, but always having that moment and those pictures of his face will be fantastic. But just talking about the game a little bit, Dave, as well. Like I've been thinking a lot about what you said on post-match yesterday. You asked sort of me, Mose, Keith, and Connor about whether you thought we'd have gone on this run without the points deduction. I mean, that's a really interesting question. And like, when I was walking the dog this morning, I was thinking back to that Monday show we did after the United game, and we sort of. I think that day it was kind of like it was a bit of a ton of bricks on us all, wasn't it? After the rallying that week and after the deduction and like talk about the atmosphere and building it up, and like I think we sort of went through on the show and we kind of went through all the reasons why this points deduction might actually be really bad for us, and it was very downbeat. And we said, well, the players might be down in the dumps at losing points that had nothing to do with them, and the back down in the relegation zone, tough run of fixtures coming up, December, heavy schedule, all these things, all these reasons to be down in the dumps. I mean, bloody hell, like the way in which they put all that aside has been so impressive, hasn't it? Because that could have happened. They could have gone into that mindset. It would have been very easy for them to slip back a little bit and have that big knock. With the points deduction, had another one with the United game, and just sort of backslide towards a bit of a relegation zone, and take a few weeks to recover from this. But we've got nearly all those points back in a week since then.
It's 1 point. Yeah,
it's been an amazing response, and I think like the managers deserve so much credit. I think, and like that sort of I know we don't talk too much depth about things on this show necessarily, but like I think that's where I sort of wanted to focus this middle part of the podcast, that he deserves so much credit. Like, and I've had massive doubts about him this season. I had doubts about him at the end of last season. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that, but for this situation we're in now, the crisis that we could have potentially been in, I think that the way in which he's kept everybody level-headed, the way in which he's spoken in his press conferences, has been absolutely perfect. And obviously, whatever he's doing behind the scenes, which we don't know too much about, is all working great as well. So Sean Dyche, fair play, done an unbelievable job, I think, in the last few weeks. So I think when you look at the 11 months as a whole as well, when you think he came in after, you think back to that Southampton game under Lampard, you think back to the Brighton 4-1 at home and losing at West Ham so meekly in the situation we were in, selling Gordon, not bringing anyone in. To get Everton now where they are playing like this, beating Newcastle and Chelsea in the space of 4 days, recovering from points deductions, he deserves so much credit, I think.
Yeah, I think, look, when you said that you're not going to sugarcoat it, I remember when we first got him in, I was like, what on earth are we playing at here? Lampard itself, again, I'll openly admit that when he came in, I thought this is going to be great. We've got a young up-and-coming manager who wants to prove himself. You look at what he did at Derby County. He was unlucky at Chelsea in the first days that he had with them. I thought this is perfect for somebody like Frank Lampard. And then when he got sacked, that double-header against Bournemouth that week last year, that was the time he should have gone, and he wasn't. It was the long break before we come back after the so-called winter break, and then it simply felt like we let go of him too late. When you look at that league table at the time, when it was Dyche, I'm trying to think back to it. I felt quite passionate that it really shouldn't have been him that came in, and then I think if you wouldn't have to dig far below the surface to think, well, hang on a minute, what are we actually aiming to do? And I think a lot of people, again, myself, wanted the manager in that played some sort of decent football, and obviously that's not ahead of the actual points that we needed to get to stay in the Premier League. I mean, you think of that win against Arsenal in his first game. You compare that to now, it was very Dyche-like then, and he'd only been in the club about a few days. So the consistency he's put in then is brilliant. And I think what you mentioned there, we are such an enigma of a club that if there was a side, I've had a couple of friends from work who've fans of different clubs have said to me, I think it's been something that's been spoken about too often in how poor the three sides that got promoted to this season. And if there's I think it's a cliche now. Oh, if there's a time for this to happen, it's right now, because Burnley, Sheffield United, and Luton are all crap when they came up. Still to have 10 points taken away from you, mate. That's a big step that you've got to take, that in terms of everything that goes around it.
Do you think we're looking at that the right way? Should we not be fuming like, well, we could be pushing for a European place? That's what I'm thinking now. It's like, forget about all the staying up and stuff like that. It's like this team could be on the fringes of, because it'll go down another place this year, won't it? Because the extra slots, I think there's 5 in the Champions League, don't they? So we're sitting there like in the quarter. If those 10 points hadn't been on, we would have been on the fringes of a European place and in the quarterfinal of the League Cup. Considering where we were at the end, that's absolutely incredible when you think about where we were at the end of last season.
But where it's a little bit of devil's advocate, do you still think we'd have won the games that we have? I know I mentioned this on post-match, and I hope people give us answers on that as well when they listen to it. But the devil's advocate I'm going to play there is, with it being Everton, with it being the mentality we've needed to get to where we are right now, given the teams that we've played, given what we've had to do, again, the way we play, I don't think there's anybody who particularly is bothered about how we play. It's just the results now, given how desperate we need to be to stay in the league. What I think, where I disagree with you, is that I don't think we'd have that level of attitude we've got now. I don't think we'd have the way in which we played. I think the performances, the way in which we played from Dyche should be really different to what we see now, because it's get the 3 points, simple as it, whatever way it takes, get the 3 points. I think Dyche said that himself yesterday. I wouldn't foresee that we'd be winning these games at a canter like we have done in the last week or so, because it's a much more comfortable season. The
thing I'd say about that, sorry to interrupt you, is that you were playing well before the deduction as well. Like it's not like all of a sudden they've started playing well after. Home form has probably gone up a level, hasn't it? Like that's where the big difference is. But was it before the points deduction we'd won 6 out of 9 anyway? Like it's not as if it's kicked the team. It's not like this deduction's like kicked a dying football team into life. Like this was a solid team doing well before then anyway.
No, and I agree with that, because you look at, we spoke about this quite a bit, I think, in terms of you couldn't really get anybody better as a manager than Sean Dyche, which again, me completely being the opposite. I think many fans would be. Near a year ago when he first came in, you'd be like, oh, is this what Everton have got to be like? We've got to restart everything. And then we'll go around the whole rigmarole of then having to get another manager after this guy, probably when he keeps us up. He's got a short-term contract. which again is probably a decent discussion to have in the new year because his contract finishes at the end in the summer, doesn't it? So
Might have to
it'll be.
might have to watch Man United trying to get him.
Yeah, I mean that's it. Yeah, I think his stock has definitely gone up. It'd be interesting what sort of deal he gets as well. Because we in the past we've been notorious for giving people like 4 or 5 year contracts, and then it just falls apart. So, yeah, just going back to what I was saying there about where we'd be if we hadn't been deducted those points. That the only reason is I think Everton are at the best when there's an injustice against us. You look at that in games as well. If you just put it in a nutshell of a 90-minute game, if a foul at the wrong time, Michael Oliver was ridiculously poor yesterday too. I think that when that happens, Goodison tends to be at his best. When you see someone double-footed or something like that and they don't get sent off, that sort of thing, it just again gets us all into a different position of mentality watching our team. I think we'd be up to 8 if we had the 10 points as well, Matt. Would that likely be a European position this season with the extra Champions League place and the European Conference as well? It would be interesting to see it in the sort of sliding doors moment for that. And look at what you're saying there. It's a real compliment of what Dyche has done behind the scenes stuff as well. I mean, I often look at our bench and because it's sort of when I was properly getting into football in like the mid-90s. And then towards the end, towards up to the 2000s, Ian Woad at Forest, I always remember quite well. He's quite a tall, skinny lad, but he could knock himself about as well. And also at Forest, and then latterly at Villa was Steve Stone as well. I know Steve Stone always seemed to be a nemesis against us. I remember they beat us in the FA Cup in the last 16. This must be either late 99, 2000, 2001, something like that. And he scored a winner against us in the FA Cup. And I remember absolutely fuming that fella. I'll tell you quite a little funny story quite quickly as well, Matt. I used to have my season ticket in the paddock, on the front row of the paddock. And you know the way you just hear some of the most ridiculous shouts when you're at the game? He was number 26 at Aston Villa. And he would come over to take a throw in. And some fella behind me said, "Hey, Steve, is that your weight on the back of your shirt?" 26 stone. And then I always remember that, you know, when people ask that question. But yeah, seeing them as the team, they're always in Dyche's face as well, aren't they? Always trying to these conversations and stuff. And again, something else you'd love to be a fly on the wall about and how they sort these things out and things, because Dyche seems to refer to them a hell of a lot. He seems to be talking about them a lot. No idea why they've got microphones on either, because you never find out who's actually listening to that sort of thing. Because it's certainly not Dyche who's standing next to them. But yeah, with the level of form we've got now, you start feeling more confident. Look at yourself, mate. When do we get up this early and start talking with a smile? Do you know what I mean? It has such of an impact on your day, your week, how you're feeling, and stuff like that. It feels like an Everton of old. This backs against the wall and doing all those cliches. And it feels like we're going to Burnley away in the coming weekend, which that if you go there and win that, I'll start feeling a lot more confident about what we're doing, because then I do think that the 3 below us are going to be really struggling, regardless of the fact they've got Wilder back at Sheffield United. They'll have a little kick, but then I'll start thinking we can climb this league table, regardless if we get them points back on the appeal.
Yeah, it's just kind of it's weird that game next weekend. Like it felt like huge like a couple of weeks ago, but like not. I'm not saying that the pressure's off in it, but a draw's fine, isn't it now? Like
we can't go into the bottom 3, can we now?
Yeah, like I mean, I'm expecting us to go there and win, but like if we go there and draw, it's not like big opportunity missed there to put one in our rivals. Like because but listen, I did expect us to go there and win, but no, he's done incredible. The manager, fair play to him. Gonna wrap up
just on the other stat there about going away from home. Another crazy one is we're the only team that's gone and beat Aston Villa away in the last 19 games.
Yeah.
When we did in the League Cup. And if people are saying, "Oh well, it's only the League Cup," go and look at the team they put out, because that was still their best team that played against us.
Yeah. If we went there now, I'd fancy us to get a draw. Even
as well. No, I'm not going that far, mate. They're an electric side when you go away.
I'm bullish this morning. Bring anyone on. Have City on the 27th with our 3 goalies on the bench and.
You've been skipping around the rain this morning, have you? With the
dog? Yeah, I'm on a high today, Dave. I just loved yesterday. Like the low sun at Goodison Park, like, it's been a while since we've had one like that. Stood there for 20 minutes with my hand in my eyes trying to shit. Like, it was just a boss day. Like, and just seeing a team of whinge bags like them, and
We'd be
class
saying
from
that
the
about us 10 weeks ago.
class from the football club, by the way, putting the food banks
Yeah.
logo up on the screen whenever those divvies were singing "Feed the Scousers." I hope anyone who was singing that and then looked up at the screen right next to the away end and saw that felt like an absolute dickhead, because they should. It's listen, and people were like, "Oh, can't have banter in football anymore." Singing about people not being able to eat at this time of year is not funny. It's not banter. Just knock it on the head. It's absolutely embarrassing.
It's like when you hear you start hearing the Christmas song, you start thinking, yeah, that's where
Yeah,
people come to Goodison and start singing that exact thing about
90
it.
seconds they started singing it.
Mate, I put it, and your colleague Joe Thomas put it out last week. I think it was against United,
Yeah.
and I put Mark on Twitter, same as him, and the amount of people, even Everton fans, replying saying, "Oh, it's just a bit of banter. It's always happened," and things like that. I just hate that stereotype. It becomes more and more annoying. And then one United fan was actually agreeing with what I said, and they were like, "Well, look what Rashford. I know Rashford's having a terrible time at United at the moment, playing wise. Look what he does away from football. He works in a hell of a lot of community things that's going on there, and we do this. It's a second nature to us to do this sort of thing with Everton in the community and things like that. So when you do see it on that screen, yes, I know the intention is to try and get everybody kicking off, our fans to be really annoyed by them doing it. And
I think it's just a shame that people singing it. But to be honest,
no, it is. And you think of the years that it's been happening against us. And look, if you had anybody from any of the club listen to this, they'd be like, "This is boss because this is why we do it, to get people kicking off about it and moaning about it and mentioning it. Then we'll keep doing it and we'll do it more and more." But it's given society these days, mate, given the way the country's run and everybody else, it's really embarrassing. I bet you that look at Chelsea's from going down to London. I'm not going to stereotype every single person that supports Chelsea, but they're from a more substantial place, shall we say, a higher
privilege.
financial, privilege. Yeah, exactly right. But then when you add United coming over and doing it, mate, that's what really is a kick in the teeth. Because I know plenty of United fans. The guy you interviewed, Jay Moss, said as well, just brilliant lads who exactly refer to what we do as a club that they like. They like Liverpool as well, which is in the same boat as us. I suppose it's actually in terms of society, it's an interesting comparison really to look at these clubs that come to Goodison, but I don't want to spend too much time on that, like you say.
No,
Matt.
like
It's
just the last
hard
thing.
to see.
Just the last thing I'd say on it is, like, if you're an opposition fan and you're listening to this or watching this and thinking this winds Everton fans or Liverpool fans up, it doesn't really. It's just weird.
Correct.
It's just so weird to go to a football match and sing about people in poverty not being able to afford to buy food at this time of year. It's just a mad thing to sing about. Like, there is loads to take the piss out of Everton for. Like, there is so many things like, if I was an opposition fan looking at us, that I could try and wind us up about, the points deduction and whatever you want to think of. There is loads of things, if we be honest, try and not strip it all away. Like, every football club's got things that they can take the piss out of for. Look across the park, we've got loads we can take the piss out of them for. They probably think the same about us. You don't need to sing about people not being able to eat. Be more creative, you absolute dickheads. And that's all I'll say about it. Very quickly, Dave, because we're on a bit of a rough timer today.
We do this every week, Matt. We always go on for longer.
Well, no, today it needs to be done in 5 minutes. 5 minutes to go through our other football moments of the weekend. I've got two, which caught my eye. Bayern Munich lost 5-1 on Saturday to Frankfurt. I don't know if you saw that. That was a pretty remarkable result. And Leverkusen are still flying. Xabi Alonso is doing a great job with them.
Yeah.
They're still undefeated in the top of the Bundesliga. And in Spain as well. I think I mentioned these a couple of weeks ago, but Girona, I think they had the game yesterday, which I think people sort of thought, well, this is all going to start tumbling down now. They went to Barcelona. They won 4-2 to go back to the top of the league. They've only lost once all season. And it's looking a bit like a Leicester City story over there. So absolutely amazing. Oh, and Bellingham scored again. He's got 16 and 18 now for
ridiculous. Yeah, and that's a show in itself, isn't it? What he's gone and done is astonishing. You've got Girona above you when you've got a midfielder who's 20 years old, who's gone and done that. You
Yeah.
think of how momentous that sort of thing to do over in the league it is. I hope it sticks around. Reminds me a little bit of years ago when Sociedad went and won the league, when it was in the peak days of either Barcelona or Real Madrid. My one, again, mate, you're a connoisseur of European football, aren't you? My one is getting back to the Premier League, and it was Fulham. It has been Fulham. Have been a bit of a story the last couple of weeks.
10-0 in the last 2 home games.
Yeah, 5-0, 5-0. Forest did us a favour with, and West Ham as well, which is quite astonishing against West Ham and a Moyes side going away and losing 5-0. But in particular in that game, the goal of the game, if anybody hasn't watched it yet, and again, he's not going to be somebody who's too popular given where he started his career, but Harry Wilson scores one of the best goals I've seen. I wouldn't go as far as saying all season long because of the one that happened against us after 2 minutes. But it's an absolute peach of a goal that puts them 1-0 up. And then also, I love him. I used to be a big fan of Willian as well. I mean, how old is he now? He's in the mid-30s.
He's 35. He's been absolutely incredible for them, hasn't he? It's such a good
That's what I
signing.
mean. You watch him play, and I think you'd be forgiven to think he's in his mid-20s. He's really, really quick, full of tricks. He's good at crossing the ball. He's got everything he wants on a winger. And the other one again, I might get slated for seeing Iwobi in a decent position because I think he's a bit Marmite, wasn't he, when he was at us? You look at him now, and he's getting a level of consistency. And finally, it's our old mate Marco Silva. Seeing his interview after it on Match of the Day, he was actually smiling. I don't think we've ever seen that before. He actually smiled at winning a 5-0 game. So yeah, Fulham are my pick of the week. And yeah, they're a really interesting side now, I think. And just in terms of the league itself, and everyone's banging on about how the top 6 looks now. It looks like it's very mixed up and things. And are Aston Villa going to be involved in the title race? I'll go as far as saying absolutely no. I don't think Villa are going to stick there too long. Top 4 probably, but the rest of the league as well is really, really interesting. And we keep kicking on like this, mate. I'm not talking about Europe or anything like we've mentioned, but a mid-table being one hell of a season for Everton. And this won't be the last season at Goodison, will it? Because next season will.
Might be the last full season. But...
Yeah, exactly. And you think back on that, and you think, where would the last story? Where's the legacy begin at Goodison Park? And I think it certainly finished towards still staying in the Premier League, given everything that's been thrown against us.
Good stuff. Yeah, enjoyed that. I also enjoyed McAtee's goal for Sheffield United. That was a beautiful finish. I don't know if you saw that.
It really was. Yeah, I wasn't happy with that at all.
But I wasn't happy with it, but it was just a beautiful goal. Like very, very loopy. The loopiest goal I've seen for a long time. But we'll wrap it up there. Loads coming from us this week. Subs weekend preview, mailbag, all sorts going on as we build up to that game against Burnley on Saturday at R5. Cheers to Dave. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a like, give us a comment, listen to us on the podcast, do leave a review, do leave a rating, it all helps. Up the toffees, and we'll catch you all very soon here on the Blue Room.